Parts of northern New South Wales and southern Queensland are this morning underwater with unprecedented flooding from ex-tropical cyclone Debbie. Residents of Lismore, Murwillumbah and Tweed Heads in northern New South Wales spent last night shifting stock and belongings to higher ground as the Wilsons, Tweed and Richmond rivers threaten to submerge the towns. More than 20,000 residents have been told to evacuate, and emergency crews have performed more than 160 flood rescues overnight. In Lismore, the siren signalling that the town's levee had been breached went off at 4 o'clock this morning.
Rain has continued to team down overnight and high winds are expected to compound the misery later today. Further north on Queensland's Gold Coast, evacuation orders are very much in place, with floodwaters still rising, a particular flashpoint around Bow Desert, just inland from the Gold Coast. The Logan River fast rising there. Around 100,000 people are without power. Schools will stay shut today as entire communities put their lives on hold to wait out this massive storm.
Our reporter Jackson Vernon joins us now from Lismore. Jackson, good morning. So bring us up to speed with the latest. When did that flood siren for the levee go off?
Good morning, Virginia. Well, the siren went off at about 4 o'clock this morning, and for people here in Lismore, that was essentially their last warning, their last chance to be able to get out of the town. It's an indication that this is extremely dangerous and this situation is very fast moving. I'm standing right now in the CBD of Lismore, where water is starting to trickle into the CBD. Behind me, hopefully you'll be able to make out the water lapping at the businesses here in the middle of town, and I'm going to take you a bit over to the left-hand side here, where the flood waters might be able to be a bit more clearer. We've got a bin submerged in the water, and just over to the left a bit more is behind that gate is the Wilsons River, and that is the cause of all this problem at the moment. As you mentioned, the levee water started to topple over the levee at about 4 o'clock this morning. That siren went off, so that water level is about 10.6, 10.7 metres, a level I'm told it hasn't reached since the floods in 1974. Now, the SES have spoken to the media this morning to describe the extremely dangerous situation that's unfolding at the moment. Let's take a listen to what they said.
Water coming down the river towards Lismore is travelling at an exceptionally high velocity, and we continue to see increases in that, which is also affecting flood behaviour within the area. So we're really urging residents and people in and around the area to heed warnings and advice from the State Emergency Service, New South Wales Police and all the other agencies to ensure their safety. This is a real emergency and a very dangerous unfolding situation with extreme consequences to go with it.
Heath Stinson there, and we expect to hear from the SES directly within this half hour, Jackson. We can see that river, as you showed us before, that river literally just moving in and moving through town. There's an evacuation centre there. Do we know how many people have gone there at this stage?
It's still unclear the amount of numbers of people that have gone to the shelter. What I do know, though, is that in terms of the evacuation orders are in place, it affects about 20,000 people in the Tweed region here. So we've got evacuation orders for 15 separate communities, including Lismore, Murwillumbah, Tweed Heads, many areas right up and down the coast here and inland. And for residents, well, they were told to get out of here as early as yesterday afternoon. And so the situation is now starting to reach a head at the moment. We had a chance to catch up with some residents as they were preparing to leave the area. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's Mother Nature at her best. She always tests us here in Lismore, so we just deal with it. Yeah, it is what it is, and you just got to have some useful thinking about you and just do what you can.
A town accustomed to flooding, but this could be particularly bad. Jackson Vernon, thanks so much for that. We'll come back to you.
We'll take you to Queensland in just a moment. Serious concern about that area around Bow Desert, inland from the Gold Coast. We're learning from the Bureau of Meteorology this morning in Queensland. They
Authorities are fearful for the safety of people they've been unable to rescue overnight as parts of northern New South Wales and southern Queensland were inundated with floodwaters from ex-cyclone Debbie. During a night of torrential rain, the New South Wales SES received around 130 calls for flood rescues, but it's been unable to reach most of those in distress. Some of those people were trapped in cars or on roofs of houses. 13 evacuation orders are current in northern New South Wales, affecting around 20,000 people.
Residents of towns including Lismore, Murwillumbah and Tweed Heads spent the night urgently shifting belongings and their stock to higher ground as those local rivers rose. Further north across the border in Queensland's southeast, evacuation orders are also in place, with floodwater still rising there and high winds also expected to hit later today. Schools and many businesses in the two states will stay shut this Friday.
Now we're bringing the latest from our reporters who are out in the field along with crosses to the SES. We'll speak to New South Wales and Queensland. But our reporter Jackson Vernon joins us now from one of the worst hit areas, and that's the town of Lismore. Goodness me, describe what we can see behind you there, Jackson.
Good morning, Virginia. Yeah, the sight and the sound of this water rushing into the town here is incredible. I want to try and take the viewers through just exactly what's going on at the moment. Behind me is just a torrent of water rushing into the town. We can see the water lapping halfway up buildings here in the town. Further left to the left, I've got cars that are completely submerged, barriers completely submerged, a petrol station just down the street with the water lapping at the top of it. And I'm going to take you around to the right-hand side now, where you might be able to get a sense of just how fast this water is rushing into the town at the moment. It's creating waves and ripple effects throughout the town here, and it is coming in at an incredible pace. Every minute that goes by, the water is creeping up centimetre by centimetre. And I'm told that this could get as high as the flood here in 1974, which was one of the worst floods here in Lismore. Now, the problem and the cause of all of this is the Wilsons River. I understand that it peaked at around 10.7, 10.6 metres, which is one of its highest levels that it's reached. And the other problem is that the water is toppling over the levee. Now, the levee in the town here was raised 12 years ago and put in place essentially to protect the town here from flooding. Now, with that water toppling over, we can see the effect of it happening right now.
Absolutely, and as you say, that water moving with the speed of a river, of a fast-flowing river, and of course the accumulations coming down from the hills, those deep creeks feeding it, it just must make it very hard. The SES told us, Jackson Vernon, they had more than 100 call-outs for help last night, for flood rescues, but they could not get to most of them. What's going to be the consequence of that?
Well, Virginia, the warnings went out as early as yesterday afternoon for people across, I think, 15 or so communities to get out. This flood is going to be a serious one. We had evacuation orders in place for the Lismore area as well as other areas like Murwillumbah and the Tweed Heads area. Now, we understand, and I think you alluded to this in the link, 20,000 people could be affected by those evacuation orders. More than 160 rescues overnight means that people didn't heed those warnings and may have put themselves in danger's way. And speaking to the SES earlier this morning, they told me that a lot of people were just caught off guard by the sheer speed and ferocity of these floodwaters coming in.
We know that there's a high tide, I think expected around about midday. Will that make matters even worse, Jackson?
I think it most certainly will, especially around the Murwillumbah area, which is north of here. There are real concerns about the impact and what that high tide will do to the area. As I mentioned, there are evacuation orders for the town there. People are urged to get out. So at this stage, it's a little bit unclear just the extent and the damage of that, but this is a dangerous and a very quickly moving situation, Virginia.
It is indeed. Take care out there, Jackson.